Is it important for you to be varying your workouts in order to make sure that your body stays healthy, or is the main focus on just getting your workouts in? On today's episode of the Exercise is Health podcast, we are exploring this question and why you might want to consider doing one versus the other and what some of the pros and cons are of either making sure that your workouts are always different or just making sure that they get done. We're going to cue the intro song and then we're going to dive right into this conversation. Welcome to the Exercise is Health podcast, where we're talking about exercise, health, and the interconnectedness of the two. We are your hosts, Charlie
and Julie,
and we will be coming to you every single week from our studio, Muscle Activation Schaumburg. Hey, what's going on, exercisers? This is Charlie. Before we dive into this week's episode, I want to let you know about a new training that's happening this week titled How to Rebuild Your Aching Body in as Little as 6 weeks Without Changing Your Lifestyle. See, if you love the discussions that we have every single week on the Exercise is Health podcast, but you want more of the practical application, the details of how to take the information and apply it to your workouts, then you need to be on this training. All you have to do to get registered for free is go to secrets.exerciseforlifemethod.com. But space is limited, so make sure to get registered ASAP. Now, without further ado, let's dive into this week's episode. Hey, welcome back, exercisers, to the Exercise is Health podcast. We're your hosts, Charlie
and Julie,
and we're coming to you from our studio, Muscle Activation Schaumburg, here in Schaumburg, Illinois, where we believe that your health is your most valuable asset, and the single best thing that you can do to both boost and protect this asset is exercise. Specifically, exercise is geared towards building the health and function of your muscle. Now, one mission that we have with this podcast is to help it reach more people, to help people understand how to exercise in order to make sure that their body stays healthy and that they can keep coming back to it. And one of the easiest ways for us to do that is when you not only share the podcast, but when you leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It helps other people find this podcast when they're looking for information on exercise and when they are looking for information on health. So if you've taken the time to do that for us, we want to say thank you. And if you haven't yet done that, pause this right now, scroll down, click us that 5-star rating, leave us a quick review, because it helps this podcast show up higher when people are looking for information on exercise and when they're looking for information on health. And we want to highlight a review that we recently received.
This 5-star review says, "These podcasts are what everyone who is exercising needs to know. They tell you to listen to your body, test out how low you can go before breaking form. It matters that you stay in your range rather than doing it faster. Totally a great find." I can't even really sum up that review because all the bullet points in that review were just spot on. Thank you for listening to our podcast, leaving us that review, and you are clearly an amazing listener, and I'm sure that your workouts are thanking you for applying these principles.
So today we're exploring this question of, all right, well, with your workouts, do you need to have all this variety in your workouts? Meaning, on Monday, do you need to swim? And on Tuesday, do you need to lift? And on Wednesday, do you need to bike? And on Thursday, do you need to run? And on Friday, do you need to do HIIT? And on Saturday, do you need to, work with your trainer? And every single time you do it, you need to do something completely different. Is that really what we need to be striving for with our workouts? Or will we actually get better results long term if we do less variety, but make sure that above all else, we actually get our workouts in? So I feel like this is a really important topic because, over the last 20 years or so, there's been so much misinformation put out by the mainstream fitness industry about how often you need to be changing up your workout routines, and this idea that every single workout needs to be different. And so we need to discuss this today to cut through a lot of what has been taught to us, over the last couple decades, and actually get to the core of what you need to be focusing on with your workouts.
Charlie, I remember in college, so maybe 12 years ago, anyways, there was a new concept, or maybe it wasn't new, but a new to me concept that I haven't really heard as of recent, but it was really big then. This idea of muscle confusion.
Mm-hmm.
And it was it was kind of like what you were saying, where it's every day you're working out and something different, but also the same idea applies to when you go to the gym and you are going to weight train or do whatever you do at the gym, that there's these new things that you're doing. This time we're standing on a Bosu ball. Next time we're standing on a squishy pad. Next time we're standing barefoot. Next time we're, all these different stimuluses, because we were thinking okay, we have to confuse the muscles so that our bodies are more ready to handle all these different things that are going to happen to us in life and whatever. The problem is that muscles don't get confused. It's like confusion comes from your brain, like when things aren't matching up. And, muscles don't actually have brain cells to get confused. They only know like contract and how hard and how long to contract and to stop contracting. And so there's absolutely no confusion there. And so the whole theory behind, okay, we need to confuse the body so that it's more prepared and it can adapt. There's more like adaptation, meaning like more benefit, more health changes. That completely doesn't make sense because there's actually absolutely no muscle confusion that happens.
Right. Muscle confusion definitely is one of those terms that was hot for a while. And, at the end of the day, it was and is utter nonsense. But, there's still this idea that kind of has lasted from, the muscle confusion days of like, okay, well, I want every single workout to be different. Like every time I exercise, I want to be doing something different. Like that's how it stays entertaining. That's how it stays fun. That's how I stay engaged with it. And so what we're asking today is like, okay, well, mentally, like, that may make it more fun for you, but let's talk about like what might be happening with your body with that and with your health. And so what do you need to make sure that if you are going to do, this wide variety of workouts, what do you need to make sure you're doing, at a minimum to make sure that your health continues to progress and that you're maintaining your strength and everything like that?
Charlie, yeah, you really summed it up. It's like the question is, what is the benefit of doing all these variations of exercise? And is that benefit health? Because some people need that benefit for the entertainment. Like that's the only reason why they show up. And if you exercise for the entertainment, that's fine. But as Charlie's alluding to, there's still some bases that we have to cover with your exercise if you're wanting to maximize the health impact, like how your body's functioning, the strength of your body, how this is impacting your brain function, how this is impacting overall health. And I think this can really be applied to also people that really like to be active. For example, like if you're coming on this podcast and you're like, well, the way I like to exercise is because I love tennis. I want to do tennis all the time. Well, kind of the same principle applies. Like, hey, you have to cover your bases for like, what am I doing for exercise that improves my health, that builds and rebuilds your body? Charlie uses that term so much, and I love that term because exercise is supposed to be building your body, building your health, building your life. And so whatever you are going to do with your quote unquote like exercise life, there are certain things that have to be done. And then there could be some accessories that you find that you want to add that make it, the entertainment part or your interests part that you can add to it.
We see this a lot within the nutrition realm where it's like, okay, look, if you are wanting to make sure that the food that you're eating is helping your body function well and, making your body healthier, well, there's going to be a certain baseline of nutrients that you need to get within your food from, a calories perspective and, macronutrients and vitamins and minerals and everything like that, right? Like there's certain minimums of most things that you need to be hitting. But how you go about hitting those things, that's where the variety can come in. And so we want to talk to you about, okay, well, what do we mean by like covering your bases? Like, what does that look like? How do you go about doing it? And then what are some ways that you can start to add in some variety, some spice, so it can still feel like, okay, yeah, I'm doing something different, but you are also making sure that at a minimum, like all the necessary things that you need to be hitting every week are covered. And so you're continuing to progress your health, you're continuing to progress your strength. Okay. So the first step is to make sure that you're doing what we call all the time exercise. So all the time exercise is physical activity that you get throughout the day that you don't classify as like doing your workout. All right. Meaning it's like doing your house chores or, doing yard work or, taking the stairs instead of the elevator, right? It's not like you bring the laundry from, the washer and dryer and you bring it upstairs and you're like, good, I walked some stairs. That's my workout for today. But, you're being physically active. So we need to acknowledge that. And we also need to acknowledge that that kind of physical activity is really important for your health. All right. So what does this look like? It looks like getting up and moving consistently throughout your day, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes at a time, but doing so consistently throughout your day. That's how you get your all the time exercise in. It's not going to cause you to be all sweaty or anything like that, but you're just getting up, you're staying moving throughout your day. And that's kind of the first base that you need to hit.
Absolutely. And most people are either really good at this one or really not good at this one. Meaning, I have so many clients that they feel like they move all day. They're like, yeah, I don't have to do a workout all the time because I'm just moving all day. I mean, I don't sit down. That's what they say to me. And I'm like, okay, great. That means you've checked off one of your bases. Okay. It's not all of them, but you've checked off one, which is amazing. Great. I'm glad you're moving all day long. Really, when you think about it, the only extended time that you should be not moving, meaning standing in one place, laying, or sitting, those are all three examples of not moving, is when you sleep. That's the time when your body is going to be not moving. And there are a lot of important things that happen during that time. And so let's save all the non-moving for that time. But I did bring up those three things like standing, sitting, or laying are all not moving, because a lot of people are like, well, I have a standing desk. That's moving. Like, no, that's not moving. That's another way to stand, and your legs might get more tired, but you're still not moving. It's not getting the benefits that we're looking for to get from this all the time exercise. So look at your day and really focus in on those times when you are really sedentary. Like in the morning when you're bustling around your house, brushing your teeth, getting meals ready, getting your kids out the door, you're already moving during that time. Great. That's your all the time exercise. That's movement that you're doing. That's not a quote unquote workout. But you need to really start looking into the times where it's like, hey, yeah, when I get to work, I sit for 4 hours until lunch. That's the time where you're like, okay, let me find 4 or 5 times or more that I can get up and walk around, go say hello to someone, have a walking meeting, take a phone call while you're walking, doing the stairs, whatever you need to do to get in the all the time exercise. So that is base number one. If we're thinking about what do I actually need in my workout life routine, base number one, all the time exercise.
Now, base number 2 is what we call special event exercise. And this is the exercise that we typically think of when we think of exercise: going for the run, going to the gym, working with your trainer, doing the class on the app or whatever it is, okay? And this is equally as important as getting in at the all the time exercise. You can't do just one and not the other. You have to be moving consistently throughout your day, and you have to have your workouts that are a little bit more intense, or a little bit more challenging. You're going to feel your muscles burning more. You're going to get your heart rate up. You're going to get your sweat going, everything like that, okay? That's what's going to help you to build your muscle. That's what's going to help you to keep your bone density higher. That's what's going to create so many brain and longevity boosting benefits, and everything that we talk about on this podcast from a health perspective. A lot of those come from the special event exercise. So we need to make sure that we're getting this in. Now, a lot of times when people think of, well, I want variety with my workouts, this is kind of where the variety wants to start taking over. But we can't just think, okay, well, I need to do something different than last time, right? There are some overarching principles that we need to make sure that we're doing. But before we get to that, we need to make sure that we at least have this base covered of doing our special event exercise.
Absolutely. Again, the special event exercise is the exercise we think of as quote unquote exercise. It's that time of like bigger intensity, a shorter duration than all day long, like the all the time exercise. It's usually like 30 minutes to an hour and a half, somewhere in that range. And, that can be your run, that can be your cycling, that could be your weight training, that could be whatever you're doing that's a higher intensity, but again, that shorter amount of time. And again, it has very unique health benefits that all the time exercise won't give you, and vice versa. All the time exercise is giving you incredible health benefits that you're not going to get from just the special event exercise. But as Charlie said, there are parameters that we can't just say, okay, Julie and Charlie said I need to work out, so that means that all my variety is going to happen during my workout. I mean, I remember I used to shove all my variety into my workouts, and it was always like, okay, well, today I'm going to do the Viper, and the next day I'm going to do the gravity wall, the next day I'm going to do, it always seemed like the more junk I did, the better, because it's just preparing my body just to be this like, I don't know, Neanderthal type human, and I'm ready for all things. Let's jump into number 3, which is what are those parameters. And actually, if you're curious about these parameters, we actually have a handful of programs that we can physically walk you through. Like, for example, we're currently wrapping up, last month we just wrapped up an OWA, which is a 1 workout away challenge, a 1 month long challenge where we literally talked about these building blocks and we did them with our participants. But don't worry, if you're wanting more information like this, you can check out other OWAs. But this past one was like a perfect example of what parameters am I thinking to put on my special event, quote unquote, workouts.
Absolutely. And so, we cover these a lot in a number of our other podcasts. We're going to highlight a couple of them today, but definitely go back and check out other of our podcasts if you want deeper dives into them, as well as check out our future One Workout Away challenges to really get the practical application of it. So one overarching parameter that we say across the board is make sure that while you're exercising, you're focused on squeezing your muscles. Okay. This is such a big thing that so often gets overlooked. We think exercise is all about the outside stuff, the weights going up and down, or, the bike pedaling faster, everything like that. That's what we're thinking about. But remember, exercise happens within your body. Okay. And all the health benefits you get from exercise are a direct result of squeezing your muscles. So where your focus needs to be while you're exercising is what's happening within your body, specifically on squeezing your muscles. And we've had podcasts in the past where we've talked about the health benefits that come directly from squeezing your muscles, how it will help you to improve your strength, how it will help you to build and maintain muscle, how it will help you to reduce the likelihood that you feel achy or sore, reduce your chance of injury, all of those things, okay? So again, you can go back through our library of podcast episodes and check that out. But this is one giant overarching parameter that must be followed if you want to make sure that your workouts continue to build your health, not only for the coming weeks, but for the coming decades as well.
Absolutely. This is so easy to apply to. If you're currently working out, all you have to do is change it from counting your bicep curls to now thinking about every time I do a bicep curl, the whole mission is to squeeze the heck out of my biceps. And you'll notice you might have to modify a couple things. You might have to modify your weight. You might have to modify your speed. But the top goal is to really focus in on whatever muscle you're trying to squeeze. Now, if you look at your exercise list of things you like to do and you're like, Julie, there's absolutely no way I could think about squeezing my muscles when I do that exercise. It just wouldn't work. Okay, well, great. That exercise now has to be recategorized into a recreational exercise due to my interests because it's fun, which is not bad, but it's not going to be the most potent type of exercise to improve the health of your body. And this leads me to our next parameter, right, is speed. If you are moving quickly in the gym, it is very difficult to focus on your body. It is so easy just to focus on the speed, getting things done, all the external things. And great, if you can do external junk, good for you. But here's the thing, to improve your health, your focus needs to be internal. So you need to be having times where you're focusing on the internal. And the best way to do that is to slow everything down. Just be the slowest person in the gym. Cut your speed in half. I have to coach everyone through this because I say go slow. And when people come in, they're still not going slow. And so go slow. Just listen to me and go slow.
Exactly. And, the problem with using too much speed is that you end up violating the third parameter, which is respecting your range of motion. So you need to be able to respect your body's range of motion. You need to be able to move slower, and both of those will help you to focus on squeezing your muscles. You focus on squeezing your muscles, that will help you to move slower, and that will help you to stay within your range of motion. So they all feed into one another. But when we're talking about being able to exercise consistently in a way that doesn't leave you feeling achy, beat up, and sore, that you can consistently feel your health and your strength improving with every workout, these are three giant parameters that need to be followed consistently with your workouts. But here's the thing. If you're still wanting some variety, get your bases covered. Following, all the time exercise, special event exercise, and then, maintain these overarching parameters. And then within that, then you can start throwing in some, whatever kind of variety you want. I remember a client came in and he was wanting to be able to ski out west. He was wanting to be able to golf all summer, but his body just was not feeling ready for it. And so what we had to do is, even though like golf and skiing were his two primary activities and the things that he enjoyed the most, and, he loved the variety that golf brings and loves the variety that, the ski slopes bring and everything like that, we had to add in and make sure that he was getting these bases covered. And then, because of that, he was then able to go and do his skiing. He was able to do his golfing on a consistent basis and actually felt really good as a result. And it was able to keep doing those things without feeling like it was breaking down his body. So that's the idea, is you cover your bases and then you can add in all the variety you want from there, because your body is getting built up, your strength is getting improved, your health and function are getting improved.
Now, I think it's really important, Charlie, that we directly talk about what happens when you're not covering your bases. Like, let's say you're like, okay, I'm glad you guys think that, but I have my list of stuff I like to do. I like to go to this type of, cross training type of gym, and I want to swim, and I want to do that, all these things that you want to do. I think those things are great. And actually, the whole reason why we've created this type of style of exercise and why we're promoting these principles all together is because we know these principles build and rebuild your body, which is the insurance policy to make sure that you can keep doing all the stuff and all the variety of activities or not that you like to do. Like, we see clients in here that don't want to do all that, but they want to know, like, hey, I can travel and climb the mountain with the tour guide, or I want to play with my kids up and off the ground. That's like variety and movement too. But here's the thing, is that if your body is not currently breaking down from you not doing these things, eventually it will. Unless you are the very rare scientific anomaly that we've never heard of. Your body will break down unless you're maintaining it. It's almost like saying, like, hey, I love to race my car really fast. I love it. You would never expect that you should just like be able to race your car really fast all the time, but never maintenance it regularly. Like, you'd probably be really good at maintaining your car if you raced it all the time. Just like this. It's like, if you like to do excessive variety in your workouts, or workouts that don't really build your body and really use your body, like sport type things, externally focused type things, well, then that's even more pressure for you to get better and better at building in these building block type workouts that build your health, workouts that build your foundation, workouts that build and ensure the function of your body so that you can keep doing that stuff. So really kind of think of it that way, because it is so important that we maintain and we rebuild our body so that we're able to use it the way that we want.
Absolutely. And if you're looking for, more kind of step-by-step guidance on how to go about doing this, again, check out the One Workout Away Challenge. There's another one coming up soon. And it's 28 days of step-by-step guidance by Julie and me, walking you through like what you need to consider as we go through different types of workouts, different varieties of workouts, different ways of exercising, but really maintaining the focus of using those exercises and using those workouts to build the health and function of your body. You get your live workouts, you get your bonus workouts, but there's so much education that's built into it as well. So if you're loving these podcasts and you're wanting to know, okay, well, how do I go about applying it? Definitely check out the One Workout Away Challenge. All you have to do to get registered for the next one that's coming up soon is go to owa.matschaumburg.com. So who do you know that needs to hear this episode? Who do you know that is wanting to just do all the different ways of exercising, but not really sure, okay, well, is this actually benefiting my health? Or why is my body continuing to feel lousy despite me, doing all these different ways of exercising? Share this episode with them so they can understand the importance of making sure their bases are covered and then sprinkling in the variety after that. And while you're online, head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating and review. It helps people find this podcast when they're looking for information on exercise and when they're looking for information on health. So if you found value in this conversation today, let us know by leaving us that 5-star rating and review. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. We always appreciate it. Have a fantastic week, and we'll talk with you all next week. So what'd you think about that episode? Did you find the information useful? If you enjoyed what we discussed during today's episode of the Exercise is Health podcast, then you are going to love what I'm going to be presenting during my new training, How to Rebuild Your Aching Body in as little as 6 weeks without changing your lifestyle. It's happening this week, and you can get registered for free by going to secrets.exerciseforlifemethod.com. But space is limited, so you need to head there now. secrets.exerciseforlifemethod.com, and I can't wait to see you there. This podcast is for information purposes only. The statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Julie and Charlie Gates, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guest qualifications or credibility. This podcast may contain paid endorsements or advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. If you think you have a medical issue, consult a licensed physician.